Have you seen this one? Look, I'm aware that this film is about 10 years old, but it still feels like it's a time capsule to some of the best and worst character traits of the early 2010s. In particular, the whole concept of the idea of the manic pixie dream girl and the male obsession with this archetype. But let's start by introducing our stars. We have a pre-Riddler, Paul Dano, and the embodiment of the dream girl herself, Zoe Karen, which this, if I'm not mistaken, was done before they ever got together. Now they're married. That's it. Dano plays Calvin, a writer who had a hit way back in his late teens, but now it's been about 10 years and everyone is waiting for his next great novel because you can't have one hit, you gotta have multiples. And the sophomore slump is hitting this kid hard. Now, it's not just the whole writing issue that he's having. He appears to be in a slump for his life. Like, his best friend is his brother, who is, I would say, toxic masculinity, but like, he's very much, like, I think his brother's his only friend, which is not a good thing. He has a dog, but he doesn't particularly love the dog. He goes to therapy sessions, but he's not really going anywhere with those therapy sessions. He's not really healing. He's not really taking accountability for the way his life is. He also has a very complicated relationship with his mother and stepdad, and there's one breakup that he ever had because he only ever dated one girl, ended pretty badly, but again, none of it is his fault. Remember that. He begins to have dreams about this girl, this perfect girl, who ends up becoming his inspiration and ends up, like, poofing into existence like something out of Fairly Odd Parents. Ruby Sparks is unreal. Not the character, but the idea of the perfect girlfriend who is always so perfect. She enjoys all the things that you enjoy. Y'all never argue. You share the exact opinions. She cooks for you and gives you all the sex you could ever want. She's perfect until she isn't. See, the concept of the person coming from scratch is fine, but also it means that there is free will there. Calvin's brother maybe says it best. You wrote a character. A person is far more complicated, and that's true. When the honeymoon phase begins to fade and the spark begins to go down because, all new couples have that honeymoon phase and then, things start to dim and become a little more realistic. He agrees to go visit his mom at the behest of Ruby, where his first set of issues really takes place. We see the relationship, or lack thereof, that he has between him and his mom and his stepfather. He loved his dad, and so I'm sure there's a level of "you're not my dad" contempt for Puss in Boots. Additionally, his mother is constantly trying to reach out to him to talk, but Calvin is just too much of a shut-in. Which, here's a lesson, folks. You need to talk about your trauma with your family. Well, assuming that they're receptive. If they're not receptive, fuck them. Calvin is seemingly in a position where he doesn't want to have that talk. It would be received, but he's refusing to engage. As time passes, Ruby begins to feel unfulfilled in her life. She wants to go back to art classes or maybe a book club, make friends, maybe have a life for herself, not necessarily without Calvin, but outside of him and their relationship. And that's the first pillar that breaks. She even suggests that she stay at her apartment once a week. She needs, space. After all, every event that they do together, all the arcades and the movies and the walks, she's the one that initiates everything. Calvin is just kind of along for the ride. Calvin wants Ruby all to himself, like a suffocating partner. The relationship reaches its breaking point when at a party where they are each confronted by something that they want, or perhaps needed. Ruby is awestruck by Landon, a forward and assertive man who has confidence, while Calvin runs into his girlfriend, the monster that left him, but she reveals there are two sides to every story in this. How Calvin read her book, was threatened or jealous perhaps at how good it was, and passed on her information to his publisher. He can't even be happy for her that she's finally getting published, which is a big deal in the first place. She rightfully points out that Calvin's insecurities and unhappiness at his unfulfilled life is a drain on his partner. Now, some outside of the box advice on this one. Look, we need to have people in our life. That's a fact. But your partner cannot be your only person. That's a heavy burden to place on anyone. Calvin walks away angry from all the truth that was just thrown at him, and he seemingly stumbles upon Ruby flirting with Landon. And back at his apartment, Calvin reaches his most, to be frank, abusive state with Ruby. They have a fight where Ruby rightfully points out that Calvin wants her all to himself, and he doesn't want her to have a life outside of their relationship, which is very unhealthy. In response, he goes to edit her again, and he makes her do things. It's genuinely a bit of an uncomfortable watch. For a warning, she has to snap her fingers constantly, speak French, undress, and call him a genius, which is a phrase that he hates, but really he loves, forcing her to worship him. This is abusive. And it's very telling of his character. It's dark. Ruby runs away horrified, and Calvin finally sees the fault in his actions and frees her of the book. She leaves, and he finally takes some agency in his own life, actually trying therapy, completing his book, taking a more active role in his life and with his family and with Scott. The film ends with him running into Ruby again, but this time she has no memory of Calvin. They seemingly hit it off, but then there's the question. Has Calvin grown enough as a person to have this relationship, or will the cycle repeat itself? This might sound harsh, but love is not the only thing that matters. In order to have love, we need to either be a person that feels fulfilled or in pursuit of that fulfilledness. The love of our partner is just bonus, it's extra. If we're not able to love ourselves, how can we ever hope to understand our partners and their needs? Relationships are a lot more of compromise and sharing roles with one another. It's never a one-way street, at least not in a healthy relationship. This film runs the disguise of a romantic comedy, but it's also a cautionary tale that even the most quintessential nice guys, what are they capable of? And also the age of question, who are you when no one's looking? Relationships are hard. There's beauty in the struggle, but also you need to find a way to be comfortable in your own skin. Otherwise, you'll never be comfortable or be fulfilled in a relationship. At least that's my take. Ruby Sparks, for me at least, it's a 7 out of 10. It's worth a repeat viewing. And I'll say this much. I can see how this film would hit differently depending on your age, right? If you watch it when you're 15, you may see one thing. You watch it when you're 21 and have been through some relationships, you see it differently. You watch it when you're 32, well, you see things through a completely different perspective. That said, what did y'all think of Ruby Sparks? Let us know down below. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll catch y'all next time. See you, everybody.